Good morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Thursday. Glad you're here. Today's Red Mic message: stop being cozy. Yesterday, I talked about three situations where you and your job are telling you that it's time to exit. And I didn't do it in a dramatic storm out the door kind of way, but the quiet signals that something has run its course. And just so happened that article, I think the I think the internet pushes things to you. It's the whole algorithm. Because then I ended up reading a piece by a guy named Sanjay Khosla. He was a senior executive at Unilever and Kraft, and he's now a senior fellow at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, which was one of my wife's dream schools. But that's a story for another time. Well, Khosla said, and I'm going to quote him here: everyone has a choice in life. You can either be cozy or you can fly. My hypothesis is that it's very dangerous to be cozy. You have to fly. That that quote was great. It's describes something that I think every leader experiences in some way, shape, or form at some point in their career. Things are working, the systems are running smoothly, the team understands the routines, the results are where they need to be, nothing is broken, and that's exactly where the danger can start, because cozy doesn't feel like failure. It feels like stability, because that's what it is. And stability, though, can quietly turn into stagnation. A few points here. One, what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. Now, he describes a multinational company that had been highly successful. Over time, it became bloated and very complex, while smaller competitors were more agile, they moved faster, they adopted new tools. And when he suggested simplifying the business and refocusing resources in the future, the CEO pushed back with something that you may have heard in your own workplace. Well, that's the way we've always done it. That's the way we've always done things. That's the way we do things here. And that phrase shows up everywhere: business, government, nonprofits, volunteer organizations. And it's almost always a warning sign, because complacency kills in the workplace. The systems and processes that made you successful in one era, they can become the anchors that hold you back in the next. You've probably heard the story about how Netflix, very, very early in its development, when it was still just mailing out DVDs, had a meeting with Blockbuster. And I don't remember the numbers, but Blockbuster had an opportunity to acquire Netflix, and they chose not to. They said, no, we are the king of the mountain here. We don't need you, you little, you know, pissant startup mailing out DVDs. How crazy is that? Last I heard, there's one Blockbuster store left in the entire country, and Netflix is a behemoth. You know, that's the way we've always done things, was the death knell for Blockbuster. It's one of my least favorite things to hear in the workplace. Well, that's the way we do it. Well, why? Defend it. My other least, actually, probably my first least favorite thing to hear in the workplace is, that's not my job, but I'll dig into that some other time. You have to ask yourself the hard question: if we were starting today, would we build it the same way again? The answer is no. That tells you everything you need to know about your processes. Number two, big goals can change behavior. He told another story about a multinational company that was struggling. Growth had stalled and market share was slipping. So he challenged the leadership: do something that, I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but double the business in 3 years. And internally, they were panicking. But the minute they accepted that goal, everything changed. They broke down their rigid functional silos. They formed small, tiger teams, and they focused on specific problems. They stopped chasing every opportunity and focused on a few major customers. And then he gave them this instruction: get it roughly right. Don't get it into analysis paralysis. Just get on and do things. It goes back to the old adage: a good plan now is better than a perfect plan later. They ended up beating their goal. When leaders and teams set ambitious targets and they have the freedom to pursue those targets, things are going to get interesting because ordinary people are going to do extraordinary things. Another lesson: if you don't disrupt yourself, someone else will. He talked about his time at Hindustan Unilever in India. They were under intense scrutiny and pressure and competition in the detergent market. So they created this product called Wheel. It broke almost every rule in the book. Detergent was produced in cement mixers instead of traditional factories. The marketing campaign was raw and rural and very gritty and different than anything they had done before. The whole thing ran like a startup inside this giant corporation. And when they presented the idea to headquarters, they were not encouraged. People thought they were crazy. He said he lost sleep over the risk, but they continued pushing forward. Well, the product ended up being a massive success and was eventually rolled out over the entire subcontinent of India. Disruption always feels risky, but refusing to change is usually riskier. Last but not least, don't make big decisions alone. He argues that leaders shouldn't make major decisions in isolation. He said he used something called a discovery workshop, where teams bring their different voices together to debate ideas openly before narrowing down to the strongest options. One example he talked about was a $200 million decision to build a new factory in Brazil. It was controversial, but instead of relying on a small group of executives, the star chamber, they brought in a wide range of perspectives into the room. And after a lot of very rigorous discussion, debate, they approved the plan. The factory went on to become one of the company's most advanced facilities. And his point was straightforward: it's very dangerous to just leave it to the leader to decide. Strong organizations build systems where ideas compete openly, not behind the hierarchy. The comfort is seductive. When things are running well, the temptation is to just protect what exists and circle the wagons. But leadership is not about protecting yesterday's successes. It's about preparing for tomorrow's reality. And at some point, every leader faces the same choices that Kozla described. You can be cozy or you can fly. Now, the tricky part is that flying usually starts the minute that you give up comfort that made you successful in the first place. You got to take that step. You got to take that leap. You've got to have the faith in yourself and your organization to move forward. Or cozy, you're going to end up sleeping. You're going to end up losing. And that's today's Red Mike message. Hope you found it interesting or helpful. I hope that you will give me a like, a follow, and a share. As mentioned yesterday, I'm now on TikTok, so you can find us there. So we're now on I think we're on all the major platforms: Audible, Spotify, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. So if you want to find us, if you want to tell your friends about it, just say, hey, type in these three words: Red Mike Messages, Mike, Red Mike Messages. If you want to listen to this guy, there's no excuse. So please help us out. Give me a like, a follow, and a share. I'll see you again tomorrow. Hashtag Fun Friday. Got a couple of ideas I'm bouncing around. Haven't quite figured out which way I'm going to go yet, though. I love you guys. I'll see you again tomorrow. And until next time, as always, life is short. Drink the bourbon. I'll see you.